All right, good afternoon, everybody. It is Jay again, and it is Thanksgiving here in Phoenix, Arizona, and it has been a long, hot year, guys. That's why I haven't put many videos out this year, is because I was just trying to get through summer just like everybody else. It was the worst summer that we have experienced here in Arizona. We had record temperatures all summer long, and it's a wonder that a lot of these plants even made it. And I'll tell you, too, that actually what did a lot better this summer with the heat and those temperatures was the tropical trees. Now, a lot of the other trees that aren't tropical, they did really well this year, too, because we just increased the water on them. And you can see plants like this fig, which would normally be burnt up after the summer, especially with these very small, thin leaves. You can see that a plant like this is actually in really good condition. And this is what you want with them going into fall and winter. Okay, you can see that some of the plants are starting to turn and change their leaves. They're starting to go dormant. So a lot of your trees, like your mulberries and your stone fruits, apples, things like that, they're going to start going dormant here real soon. Their leaves are going to turn yellow. So don't panic when you see that. And those leaves are going to fall off, and that provides your food for the next round here in spring. So you don't want to clean up a lot of these leaves. Okay. So what is the video about today, or what are we going to be discussing, and why would I be doing this particular video this time of year, right? Because it's fall, and the topic of today's video is going to be tier 2 fruit trees. Okay. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why in the world would I wait till this time of the year to do this video? It makes no sense, because if you're wanting to do things like tropicals, well, wouldn't we want to do this video here in March so that we can slip a lot of these tropicals in the ground with no damage, right? And that is true to a certain degree, but it's really the concentration of this video is going to be the cold weather, because tropical trees, the only thing that you really have to worry about those, or why they're in the tier 2 system, is really basically because of the cold. Okay, so you need to get some cold hardy tropicals, or you need to acclimate your current tropicals to this cold, or you're never going to get fruit. Okay, and so what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is a lot of the tropical trees that we're going to be going over today, or the trees that are in the tier 2 system, are going to be trees that either grow this time of year, and you can see that a plant like this has brand new growth on it this time of year, right? So this is a sapote, and we'll be talking about this one here a little bit later in the video. But you can see that a lot of the tropicals, or let's call it most of the tropicals that we'll be going over in this video, I want you guys to notice that they've got either new growth on them right now, brand new growth on them right now, or they've got flowers and they've got fruit on them. Okay, so why is it so important that I do this video this time of the year and not instead of March, when you guys are going to be thinking more about tropical trees, right? And the reason for that is because literally these type of trees are sensitive, like I said, to the cold. That is what you're worried about when you're dealing with this type of tree. We've got the cold coming on, and this type of tree is active and growing during those cold periods, okay? So what I'm saying is, if you ever want certain types of fruit and fruit trees, then you have to get really good at either growing them or setting up a microclimate for them, okay? So I'm hoping that message sort of gets through, because that's why I waited till this time period. Like I said, a lot of these are cold sensitive. I'm going to drive that in, okay? And a lot of these need watered during the winter, okay? So that's another thing, is I know a lot of people are going to cut back the water on a lot of these trees during the winter, because they're going to either start to see yellow leaves on them, or they're going to assume it's getting too cold out there. The water's keeping them too wet. They're going to rot. Oh my gosh, or the planet's going to blow up, right? Okay, so no, that's not the case. Think about them as they're going to just kind of stay evergreen during the winter or really all year long, just like you would do a citrus tree, okay? So if you want these type of plants that are in the tier 2 system, okay, a lot of the plants in here are in the tier 3 system, okay? We're not covering those today. We're going to cover some of those hardier ones that you guys can grow outside and not have those particular plants in a greenhouse, okay? We'll discuss that in another video, but this one is going to be basically, we're going to cover 10 fruit trees that are somewhat winter hardy, or you need to get good at growing them in a microclimate in order to ever have these fruit trees, okay? So you can do one of two things. You can either plant bigger tropical trees during the fall so that they've got some time and they've got some acclimation. So you can see that a lot of these tropical trees are even starting to turn colors, as they do too, right? Which indicates fall's coming. Okay, so this is completely normal on some tropical trees also, and especially these tier 3 tropical fruit trees, which we, like I said, we'll be doing these in another video. Okay, so let's just get right into it, guys. Let's start talking about these trees, and I want you guys to make your list and know that you may not be able to plant smaller of these trees right now. Okay, so the smaller tier 2 trees, let's call those under 4 foot. Okay, 4 to 6 foot. If they are under that, I think I would keep them cold protected. I would either keep them somewhere nice and warm, like I've got the greenhouse here, or you can keep them in a garage if you haven't planted them. Or if you've planted them, you may have to cover those plants, okay? If they're smaller, okay? Like, let's see, this black sapote right here, okay? He's not that tall yet. He's probably about up to my waist. So this is something that I would not consider planting quite yet. I would probably plant this one in the spring just because he's a little bit shorter, okay? Now, what would I plant this time of year? Well, probably a little bit like of a taller avocado, because it's taller than me, and these actually bloom during the winter. Also, this is actually going to start blooming here in like January, February. But this, once again, is not one of the trees that we're talking about on this list. This is a tier 3 tropical also. So this is not one we're covering, but I'm talking about size. Okay, so 6 foot, this is over my head. So this is one that could probably safely be planted. These are good to about down to 15, 18 degrees, which we never see here. So this would be safe, but once again, we're not talking about these. These have a lot of green skin, so this will be covered in the tier 3 video if you guys want to grow avocados here in Phoenix. Okay, so you can see by the color of a lot of the leaves, it is indeed fall. It is cooling off, okay? And everything actually looks pretty good. So let's get right into it. All right, so number 1 on your list is, of course, going to be mango trees. And why is it mango trees? It's mango trees because everybody wants mango trees, and this is probably your number 1 on your list, okay? Mango trees can actually survive some pretty cold weather, guys. And like I said, remember this list, it's not the hot I'm worried about. It's not the 11 months of heat that we have. It is going to be the 1 month of cold that we have. And a lot of my mango trees are larger now, and there is definitely no way I'm going to protect them or have a need to protect them because they are, well above my head. Nice big canopies on these trees, and so these, I really have no reason to cover them. You can see that they're way up here. Another big one over here, and you can see that they are so tall that there's no way to cover them. Like, they are the microclimate, right? It's not like there's trees that are up above them that are going to kind of keep them warm. There is, however, a bunch of trees around them to keep them warm, which is, of course, your microclimate, right? And you've got some trees that are going to go really tall up. You've got some trees that'll stay a little bit shorter, and it's going to kind of fill this whole section in full of evergreen plants. And it's going to stay like this pretty much all winter long, okay? So let me get back over here. Man, I swear I get stuck in my own jungle. Okay, so there's just mangoes everywhere on the property. That's one of the first trees that I started putting in. So that is one of the easiest for me. And in fact, a lot of these have just gotten really big. Really, really, really big. So now something like this does not need any protection at all whatsoever. There's really no way to do it. And once they get this big, they're pretty much bulletproof. And I've got these things everywhere. I forgot how many mangoes I actually put in initially, but they are kind of everywhere. And this whole back area, here is mango trees. There's around 9 kind of stuffed in this area here, okay? So why are mangoes on this list? Or what is the problem? Why do we need to worry about them being a tier 2 fruit tree? Okay, and so the reason for that is that they actually grow and flower during this time period. So you can see that this mango, this is just one that I can reach the bottom. This one is just flushed. All of his new growth. This is not fall growth. This is not turning the red like you saw that other tropical plant. This is actually its new growth, right? It's coming out. It's really soft until it gets hardened off, which it will do before winter here. And so mangoes, they'll typically grow during this time period, during the winter, and real soon here you'll start to see some flowering happening on all the mangoes. So that's why mangoes are a concern, and that's why they are in the tier 2 system, is because winter will get the smaller ones. So if it's under, like I said, under that 4 foot, that'd be something I'd be worried about. If it's over that, it needs to be out here because it needs to get a taste of winter. The worst thing you could ever do is let a mango tree or any of these other trees get really, really, really big. You know, cover them, and then take everything off for a winter, and you will absolutely freeze a lot of these plants because you've never adjusted them to any kind of a cold because you were too worried, and everybody on Facebook told you to be scared and throw all your plants inside and never have any deaths and never learn anything, okay? So really, the point of that is you got to get good at growing these if you ever expect to get fruit, okay? So mangoes are going to be, of course, number 1 on this list. All right, number 2 on that list. Let's go ahead and grab number 2. Number 2 is going to be guavas. Guava trees. Okay, and guavas are actually pretty easy. Pretty easy to grow here. And like I said, the summertime or the spring, you don't have to worry about them at all whatsoever. You guys see the new growth on there? That's why I pulled the branch down. Okay, boing. Okay, so guavas, if you've got a warm yard or a nice microclimate built for yourself, guavas are going to stay evergreen, okay? Now, there's a bunch of different kinds of guavas, okay? And they're going to fall into different classes depending on what they are. All guavas are not created equal, just like all citrus are not created equal, okay? So what is this guava here? This happens to be a tropical white guava, okay, indicated by its large green leaves here, okay? This is going to be a tropical guava or a guava in that family that has the larger fruits, okay? These are susceptible to the cold, especially if they're a smaller, younger plant. I would definitely not plant a smaller one. A bigger one, you could get by with planting a bigger one, okay? This is one that may freeze to the ground if it's a little bit smaller. But it seems to be okay to do that sometimes on them, because when they regenerate that new wood and that new growth, you seem to get really good fruit that next year after they've been frozen. So see, there's some, it's just reducing the size of the tree for you. So now you're starting over, you're going to get a new plant basically that year. And of course, it's going to produce really, really good fruit for you because it basically pruned itself down. Okay. So this is one you may worry about. This is like I said, this is a tropical guava. These all have basically the same leaf. They look like this. And if it gets really, really cold, you're going to get some purple or some black on the tops of these leaves. But typically, like I just showed you on that one, typically they are going to grow during the winter time, and they'll fruit in January if your yard is warm enough, okay? So this is one where it depends. It depends on the variety, and it depends on the size also. But this one is the one that's susceptible, okay? So let's look at a couple of the other guavas, and maybe that will make a little bit more sense to you. Okay, so the next guava here is this is called a lemon Cattleya guava, okay? And as you can see here, the leaf looks completely different from the tropical guava, the larger fruit. This is going to have a little bit of a smaller fruit on it, but it's very prolific, meaning it puts on a ton of fruit. Also, this is a cooler weather guava, okay? So this is a gimme. This is a freebie. If you want to plant something like this during the winter or during the cold season, you got to remember this plant is extremely active now that we've cooled down. So you're getting a lot of blooms here, which will get a lot of fruit, and you're also getting a lot of new growth on these plants as we've cooled down, right? What's unique about this plant, or the Cattleya guavas, the lemon guava and the strawberry guava, is that they look very, very much like a ficus tree. In fact, I've got one over here I keep just for that reason. Okay, you can see here, this is a ficus tree. I'm gonna grab a leaf off this tree, and we'll kind of compare it to the lemon guava over here, and you can see that it's got basically the same size, shape, and color. Right, a little bit darker, maybe like these lower leaves. But if I stuck it on this plant right here, you would never know the difference between these two plants, right? Ping, right? So what's nice about this is you can replace a lot of those horrible ficus trees with something that will actually fruit and not disrupt your foundation, right? And they like the cool weather. So there, I've given you guys lots of excuses to get one of these plants, okay? So these are the Cattleya type guavas. Now let's talk about one more type guava. Not exactly a guava, but we're going to kind of throw it in there. Okay, so the last one I'm going to throw in the list here, this is a pineapple guava. It is actually a Feijoa is its real name. And as you can see that this is also actively growing during this time period. And this is actually a winter loving plant. Guys, if you're wanting to put something in and have something evergreen and have it look good, especially during the winter time, it would be one of these pineapple guavas or one of these Feijoas, because they stay evergreen, and these actually like winter better than they do summer. Okay? So you're going to get a lot of activity and a lot of growth on these, and these will actually bloom during the winter also. So this is called a Feijoa, and you can see that it is a much kind of darker gray leaf, really pretty plant compared to the regular tropical guava here. So these put on a little fruit. They're still kind of small, but they still are attempting to put on some little fruits. Here we go. And typically it takes people quite a while to get fruit off of these pineapple guavas. I'm not exactly sure why. Or these Feijoas, I'm sorry. Really, you just have to feed and water them just like everything else, and know that this is a plant that doesn't really appreciate the heat. This is one that likes the cold. So, hey guys, once again, this is a freebie. So, Cattleya guavas, pineapple guavas, you could definitely put those in. The other guavas, you may have to worry about a little bit. All right, so the next one on the list is going to be actually one that shocked me, and shocked me in more ways than one. Okay, this is very quickly becoming one of my favorite plants and is definitely one of my favorite fruit trees. This is a Surinam Cherry. This particular plant, or this particular variety, is a black Surinam. So this one is a little bit sweeter than the red Surinam, but they are both absolutely delicious. And this plant really shocked me because I've been working with this one quite a bit. Okay, I actually grow these. I grow these from seedlings, so these start like really tiny, and you can see that even a small plant like this made it out here during the summer. Even in these little pots like this, right? So you want to talk about a champion. You want to talk about a trooper here for Arizona, okay? Black Surinam cherries. This is actually one of my favorite fruits. This is in my top 5 for sure, okay? Let me put him back in here. And this is going to be more of a bush than a tree, guys. Now, you can make them become a big tree, but what you have to do is kind of train them into that because they are actually more of a bush. I'm going to show you a different one here. Okay, and this is a bigger one that I've got back here in a pot, but I've got these planted all over the property. Like I said, this has quickly become one of my favorite fruits because of how beautiful it is, especially after summer. Guys, there's not many plants that look good after summer. You can see that he's got all new growth on him, and he's got cherries. You can see that they are forming here, right? And remember, it's November, so we need to get these through. So how would you do that? Well, you'd want to start with a larger one if you're going to plant it during this time period. So this is you can see that this is a little bit of a larger plant. This is fruiting age, so you can see that he's got fruit on them. A little bit of a taller tree. You can see there's a nice big one back there in a big planter. Back here also, like I said, I've got these things pretty much all over the place. I just like the way that they look. They've got this like weird kind of crawling type behavior. As they grow tall, they start to kind of creep over and kind of hang down. I think they're a very nice looking plant. And I've got smaller ones, obviously, but I don't know that I would put something in, that small. Something like this would probably make it because it's in good condition. It's nice and healthy and green. That's another thing, guys. If you start with bad shaped plants to begin with, especially this time of the year, then expect poor results. I mean, you have to start with plants that are already healthy, right? And a lot of the nurseries this time of the year, that's not exactly the case. I mean, they're not going to be in that great of shape, okay? A lot of them are going to be kind of beat down for the winter. That's why you get deals in the winter on things, because nobody knows how to take care of anything and they just want to dump it, okay? I don't like to do that. I like to grow things all year long and show you guys that, hey, you have to struggle with them. I struggle with them too. So we're all in the same boat. But you can see that it has all new growth on these plants. And this plant has done excellent even in the full sun, guys. So this is very quickly becoming one of my top plants. And you'll notice that I put it there at number 3 because of its hardiness. Never seen anything like this. This thing's made it through the summer, made it through the winters, no problem at all whatsoever. Surinam, I carry a lot of the reds, I carry a lot of the blacks, and as you saw in there, I grow a lot of them myself. So that's, they're acclimated, especially once they've gotten this large. All right, guys, next on the list, since I got you thinking about cherries, the next one on the list here is going to be Barbados cherries, okay? So what are Barbados cherries? Barbados cherries are also a tropical cherry. They grow very much like the Surinam cherry. They are also going to be sort of a bush unless you make them like a tree. You can also train these like a tree. And this is a health food, guys. You want to talk about one of the healthiest plants or fruits that you could possibly eat. It's going to be the Barbados cherries. These put on a red fruit that go from a flower to you eating them in a week. And there's nothing else that fast as far as fruit production goes. There is not a plant that does that, with the exception of the Surinams, which are pretty close. They're about 10 days between flower and you actually eating that fruit, okay? So why am I here by these smaller ones? I'm here by the smaller ones because this is one that I may not plant yet because he's a little shorter, okay? This is, you know, about 2 foot tall. So that's the size you might worry about on your Barbados cherries. As they get a little bit larger, they are a little bit stronger. And once they start getting quite large, you can see I've got a nice big one here in a planter. We're going to go look at one in the ground here though, of course. But you can see even here in a planter, they'll get nice and huge and they'll kind of weep over your area. I kind of keep this trained up so I can pass through here, obviously. But just last week, and well, there's still a few left. I'm going to pick a green one because all the red ones have ripened already, but he's starting to put on a second round of cherries here also. So once again, guys, all these plants are going to do something, or fruit, during the cold period, okay? So you have to get really good at these, right? Extra water, repeat after me, extra water, and then extra food. If you don't compost and have good warm soil that's going to provide heat from below, well, then you're not going to have these trees also. So it's kind of there's a lot to building a microclimate, but it's pretty easy to do. So this is probably a 3-day-old cherry. And like I said, these ripen extremely quick. Okay, so here I am in my front yard, and I've got another quite large Barbados cherry here. And what's nice about this one is this one only gets afternoon sun. It only gets sun from, like, let's say 4 o'clock to like 7 o'clock in the summer. And actually, this is one of my fullest looking plants as far as, you know, like the leaves go and the fruit goes. This one just went through a round of fruit, and it's going to start to do it again here. So that's why this is such a good plant. The Barbados cherry is, this will take the heat and the sun and the horrible yard that a lot of people have without any damage, and you're getting cherries. Okay, so holy moly, you can't lose with this plant. And it'll get quite large. Actually, this is getting near the size of the lemon tree that is next to it. So they can get quite big. I've got another one over here on the south side of the property. Okay, so this one is on the south side of the property. Chain link fence here. And you can see that this one is nice and big also. This one is about as big, or at least as big as the other one that I showed you, and is also beautiful and really full of leaves considering that summer that we just went through, okay? So these plants are my barrier or my buffer plants. You guys want to know what would be a good tier 2 buffer? Well, there's nothing here, okay? Street. Okay, so this thing gets the worst of it, okay? And the next tree that we're going to be talking about actually is right behind it. And so it also gets a ton of sun. And there's our deadly brick wall, guys, right? That kills all of our plants, right? Can't plant nothing near brick walls because it's going to burn them up and kill them, right? But not realizing that that is what you need in order to keep some of these alive and warm during the winter. So do not fear your block walls. Holy moly, guys. Block walls are actually the reason I got this so successful, is because they're such a nice barrier and they don't act as the evil dragon that everyone seems to think that they are. So let me get right over the fence here, and we're going to talk about number 5, which is going to be starfruit trees. And oh my gosh, guys, one of my favorites. And yes, I'm allowed to have 400 favorites. All right, so starfruit trees. Oh my gosh, I have the most luck or the most success with starfruit trees than probably any other plant. These trees, for some reason, for me, get huge and green. I mean, look how good this looks after the end of the summer. And like I said, what do we got going on, guys, here? We've got our brand new growth. Look at that. Look at that horribly sensitive growth, right? What gets starfruit trees typically is a lot of wind. And so, of course, having a barrier like a block wall is going to save them, right? And so you look at a tree like this and, wow, yeah, it really does look good after the summer. And you may think, well, what about the fruit? I don't even really see any fruit. Well, that's the funny part about a starfruit tree is it hides its fruit so well that even I have to look for it. So let's get up here and look, okay? So if we kind of move some of the branches back, what we're gonna see is we're gonna see chains and chains and chains of little starfruits. Do you guys see them? Hopefully you can, because they're green and they sort of match the leaves. Now it puts on millions and millions of these starfruit. In fact, so many that you're going to have to thin some of these, because on every single branch, that's what they do, okay? Let me see if I can get in here. They just put on the fruit, okay? So you want to talk about one of the most successful fruit trees in Arizona? I'm going to give it to starfruit, actually, because the production numbers and the return of investment on the fruit that you get off of a starfruit is absolutely ridiculous. This thing is just soaked full of fruit. And I've got quite a few of these. These are my son's favorite fruit. Look at them just shooting up there in the full sun. This thing gets full sun. So let's look at a couple more, lest we think it's just this one. Okay, so we are in the back again. Like I said, lest you think it's just that one, I've got them all over the property. I've got them basically on every single side of the property, because like I said, it's my son's favorite fruit. Now here's a nice big one, okay? So let's see if we can follow this one up. He's got a nice big trunk right here. You can see, right? Now let's go up. That's a big starfruit tree, especially for Phoenix. I mean, that's at least 15 foot. You're getting a nice canopy, nice spread, and man, it's full of fruit too. They're very hard to see because it's way up there, but I need to get a ladder up there to kind of see all the fruit on this one, because there's quite a bit more on this one because it's getting a lot more sun, right? Now, oh yeah, there's one back here. They're literally everywhere. Starfruit here. I kind of planted these all over the place, but this was one that I was told, you know, will never be a big tree here. It'll never be a big shade tree. It's kind of a lower canopy tree. And really the situation has been for me that they all become big trees. Like everything has become a shade tree or a giant tree. Even a lot of these tropicals that are not supposed to get this big here, right? Well, it's just food and water and the environment, like I told you, okay? So starfruit. Now you may say, here's the next question is, well, Jay, you've only mentioned a few varieties on things. So like, what's the best variety for here? You know, is it a Cherry or is it an Arkan? Or what's the best one for here, right? And really, that's why I have usually all 3 or 4, depending on what the tree is. So like starfruit, you know, I've got at least 5 or 6 varieties around here to show you guys that, well, they all will work. Like you just pick your poison and make sure you get it in there and get it in at the right time of the year. Another big Surinam Cherry underneath it. So you can kind of see things are planted very, very dense. We've got our new growth on these Surinams. So very versatile plant, in my opinion. Let me get back here so you can see it. I think this looks really, really good. Okay, and while we're back here, let's just do the next one on the list. And the next one on the list happens to be Sapotes. Okay, now I'm going to use that as sort of a generic on these because it's going to cover all the Sapotes. So here you get sort of a little bonus, and that we're going to do 3 in this group. Did I mention this would be a longer video? We're going to do 3 in this group. The first one is going to be Chiku Sapote, or Sopadilla. And you can see that it puts on a little brown fruit. They'll actually get bigger than this. And these taste exactly like brown sugar. So these are called brown sugar fruit. And you can see at this time of the year, not only do they have fruit on them, but they've got new growth on them, okay? And a lot of mine have gotten really big. Okay, let me see if I can get even around on this other side. Oh, little fruits. Oh, they're so neat. Okay. Oh. Okay, now you can see that he is just rocking it out here, and he gets full sun for a long period of the day because he's taller. Guys, you got to remember the sun's coming over this way, and until the sun gets to the mulberry row over here, this stuff's pretty much in the full sun. So you can see that a lot of these tropicals are just killing it out here in the full sun. They are just doing excellent, right? Because they've got this microclimate that has been kind of built up, especially back in this area. So Chiku is, Chiku's high on my list, guys. This is a very surprising plant for me. It is an evergreen. It is growing right now. And lest you think I have just one of these, oh man, no, I have a bunch of these because this is one of my favorites. Remember, I'm allowed. And man, they look pretty good, like wherever you put them, really. I mean, this one is pretty much in the shade. Let's call it full shade underneath this mulberry, right? I would recommend giving them a little bit more sun, but you can see even back in here, they're just killing it. They just look amazing, right? Beautiful evergreen plant, nice thick leaves. Okay, so something this tall, I mean, for sure you could put in. This one's already planted, but I'll show you some smaller ones. Okay, so these are little guys. You can see I have these here in the greenhouse, and why do I have them in here? You were just talking about putting them outside. Well, they're smaller, and I get rapid growth out of them in here. So usually I put them in here, I grow them fast, and then I start getting them outside once I start acclimating them, because they're not going to grow that fast outdoors, whereas indoors, they're a very fast growing plant. And what's neat here is you can see that there's varietal differences between these, because there's a whole bunch of different varieties of these guys. But you can see even the differences between this plant. You can see it's got kind of that bronze new leaf, and even one right behind it that has sort of a lime green new leaf. So all these are varietally different, and it'll tell you really by the color of the leaf. But look how beautiful these look. I mean, all year long to have an evergreen plant like this that tastes like brown sugar. Okay, stop me there. All right, so to throw in on the Sapote class of fruits, I'm going to go ahead and put in the chocolate pudding fruit, or black sapote, it is also called. This one is also as strong and as good looking as the Chiku, in my opinion. And also, as you see right now, it has fruit. They have fruit on them, okay? It's winter, going into winter, okay? So a smaller one you might want to protect, but the larger ones, well, of course, I've got one in the ground for you. All right, so here we go. You got to have one in the ground, right? Got to have one in the ground. Okay, so you can see that it has a very, very sort of like a waxy leaf. Looks like a lot of other kind of generic plants, I guess you could say. Maybe like a citrus. Looks kind of close to a citrus. Also, let's see, where's he at? Fruit. Also producing fruit. And this is actually kind of a larger tree. Let me see if I can get over to the side here and follow him on up there. Okay, so he goes way up here. This is an African tulip tree that is just above him, but then the black sapote is literally, they're pretty much planted in the same hole. As you can see here, you know, you never want to do that, right? You never want to put fruit trees and shade trees and everything close to each other, because, you know, they might live. You know, they might live and protect each other. And then you have both super rare trees for Arizona. I mean, you don't see very many of that African tulip tree either. And then the black sapote is just hugging him. I mean, this is literal forest now. Going through some of these areas. Okay, so black sapote, chocolate pudding fruit, unrelated to the first one, just as awesome. All right, let's go ahead and do white sapote while we're back here. Right? So white sapote is another plant that we can grow here. It is also a tropical plant. You can see that it is putting on all of its all of its new growth, right? And real soon here, it's going to be flowering and fruiting. And this is one of the older ones that I have on the property because I put him in as one of my first trees. And he is up to here. He is a slow growing plant, but it actually looks really, really good this time of the year. Oh, we might have some blooms coming on here, maybe. Let's see what we got. Some flowers. Yep. So yeah, we're going to be fruiting here real soon on this one also. Okay. Don't fear the cold, guys. It's not that long. It's only a month. Holy moly, I wish it was longer, but it's only a month, okay? So you can see he's gotten some nice size. Unrelated, all those trees, okay? That one's in the citrus family, I believe. The chocolate persimmon, I believe, is in the persimmon family. And then we've got the chiku over here, and there are other varieties of sapotes, but those are the three I'm covering. Those are the three that I like. Those are the three I'm talking about. Those are the three that are nice and strong. Okay, guys? Nice big mango there, too. Okay, let's move to the next one. Okay, so the next one is going to be ice cream bean or inga fruit or inga tree. And you might wonder why I'm holding this little branch here and talking about the tree. Well, I'll tell you what, this time period is when these things explode. Like they're going to grow feet per year, okay? So do you see the spacing between the branches, right, and the leaf sets? This thing is in active, like, super mow grow. Okay, now let's move up so we can see the actual tree. And you can see he's actually grown back quite large, considering the fact that I cut this tree down to restart him again because, man, you want to talk about a rapid growing tree. These are insane as far as their growth goes. So this is one that is being slept on for sure and is an evergreen and a beautiful tree, and they grow during this time period. And I'm going to show you another one here. All right, now look how pretty this one is. This one's in my front yard. So of course I probably take care of this one just a little bit better. But these have the prettiest shape, and what I mean by that is they kind of grow up and then they kind of weep over as they grow. And the new leaves on these guys, the new leaves are insane. Let me show you these. See if I can get them in the sun. Probably not. They are the biggest dark green new leaves that you've ever seen on a plant. They are just a striking plant. Look how beautiful they look, just with like the sun coming through them. You guys see that chocolate brown? Look at that new growth on that plant. Chocolate brown. It just looks so beautiful. Oh my gosh, this tree. Yeah, that new growth is something else. So yeah, this has become really high on my list. And look, he just fills in so solid. Like this becomes such a nice looking tree. Let me see if I can back up here without, there we go. Do you see how these how they kind of weep over and they've got that nice big leaf on them? Look at that. Oh man, they just look so good. I'm hoping that's kind of coming through in the video, because you want to talk about, this has got to be the best looking tree that I've seen. Like this actually beats a mango as far as the way it looks. and the shade that it provides, and it provides a 3-foot fruit that tastes like vanilla ice cream. So you can't beat this tree, right? This is so high on my list, and I've gotten really good at growing these because mine have fruited. So I also have these available that I grow here from seed. I'll show you those. All right, so like I said, I grow a lot of these from seed, and man, they just look so good. They've got the most beautiful shape, and man, they grow nice and tall and fast. And they've got this beautiful weeping behavior, like I said before. And they've grown out here in the full sun where a lot of other plants have gotten scorched. I mean, here's a specimen right here. This one's just perfectly shaped. Comes out, its branches are literally perfect as it goes. It's got all new leaves, all new growth. There's different varieties of these. You can see this is the same variety as the large one that I have in the back, and then the front one is a different variety. But man, beautiful shapes. I've grown quite a few of these, and I may end up keeping the rest of these because I'm telling you, that is one of the absolute best looking trees that you could grow. And oh man, they're just so cool. And they've got this unique leaf where they've got, you kind of see that inner leaf that is between the leaves. Looks like some kind of insect. But yeah, grow nice and tall, done good all summer. One of my best plants. In fact, I've put them in areas that I've needed to shade other plants. Here's another ice cream bean. And another one. In the corner here where it's the hottest, basically. Right? And there they are. So ice cream bean, this has really become one of my top. I've not had any problem with them over the winter. In fact, that's usually when I see the most growth on a lot of these plants. You know, your guavas, your ice cream beans, right? You see all this new growth? It's almost December. It's December in a week. All right, guys, that covers ice cream beans. Let's see what else that we have on the list. Throw a little side note here on starfruit. So people are always wondering like how I get starfruit or why they're not getting them. And they'll even fruit as a very, 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 very small size. Guys, so let's dig him out here. Now you can see that he's pretty much covered in blossoms and even fruit as a very little small potted plant even. So like I said, guys, starfruit, they do so good for me that I try to pass these along. All right, so let's find the next one on our list here. I think we're gonna probably do peanut butter fruit because peanut butter fruit is such a unique fruit and they're hardly ever talked about or discussed. And I think just people are struggling with these a little bit, okay? So let's talk about the peanut butter fruit. Okay, so the peanut butter fruit, this is a tree that is related to a Barbados cherry, and it has about the same hardiness, in my opinion, as a Barbados cherry, except in the middle of the summer, it does get a little bit scorched if you've got this in the full sun. But now is the time of year, we've cooled down. Look what we've got happening. We've got these absolutely full of flowers and fruit and new growth once again. So I think this is a very cool looking plant or tree. And let's see. Okay, we got some fruit. We got some, well, here's some here that are developing. These are the fruit, the peanut butter fruit, and they're going to turn a lot darker than this actually. They're going to turn like a dark orange and then a reddish color, and then they're ready to eat. So these taste exactly like peanut butter. And what's cool about this is people with peanut allergies, they can actually eat this fruit and it tastes exactly like peanut butter. Guys, I'm telling you, it's really, really unique fruit. And it is a tree, like I said. See if I can kind of, sorry, it's kind of buried in the jungle here, but it's right here. And you can see that it's got all new growth and rapid growth. Pull one of these branches out here. That's a brand new branch, as you can see here. Brand new branch, and it's already that big with new growth and flowers and fruit. Okay, so same situation on this one. Maybe not put a smaller one in. Maybe put one in when we warm up, or if you have a larger one, you can go ahead and plant it. And it's going to start to leaf cycle on you. So that's another thing we're going to cover. We're going to cover here is this leaf cycling on tropicals, because everyone sees this and they freak out. Okay, they're supposed to do this. Do you see that full yellow leaf? Okay, tropicals leaf cycle a lot. So they're going to, usually when you see this, this indicates new growth coming on or fruit coming on. People think they're overwatering it. Oh my God, they cut off the water. And then of course they don't get their fruit, or they don't get their tree to make it through the summer or through the winter. So man, people just get the weirdest mixed signals. And I think tropicals really confuse people. I think this is one that really confuses people. And since we're right here, we'll talk about another one on the list real quick. And it's going to be the Wampee tree, which is another one that's shocked me this year. The Wampee tree, let's see if I can show you his growth, is also an evergreen. It is a fast growing tropical tree. I've got one here in the backyard, and he's pretty tall. He's going on up there to, 15 foot probably. Growing in the full sun. He really likes that sun. I'm going to show you another one that I actually put in the front yard, because I noticed that they are very, very sun loving, especially for a tropical. And these are, I'm not sure if they're exactly related to lychees and longans, but it's that type of fruit. Okay, you're going to get that like all those little berries at the ends of the fruit, like the longans, which I'm going to talk about here in just a minute too. Let me go ahead and show you the one in the front, because there is an important lesson there, and I need you guys to really, really get this in your head as far as tropical trees go. All right, so I am back in the front yard here, and we are going to learn together, folks. Okay, so I'm going to show you this on the Wampee, and I'm hoping this will make some sense. And, here's another chiku. Man, they're pretty, and you can tell I really like them because I have planted so many of these and actually taken out a bunch of trees so I could put in some more of this type of tree. Another starfruit, of course. Just full. I'd show you a lot of these, but a lot of these would be just redundant, guys, because it's just the same plant over and over again. So I'm just going to show you kind of one example of each, okay? Okay, so this is the part that I need you to learn. Okay, so do you see how the leaves on this plant, they start to kind of go, I hope this picks up in the video, they kind of start to be sort of yellowish down here on the bottom. And then as we move up the tree, they're going to become a little darker. Getting a little darker. And then a little darker yet. Up here it's going to be really dark. Real dark leaves, okay? Now, you see his new growth, and that's the reason why, guys, I test these first. I test these for years before I make videos, because I don't want to have the wrong information, because I've been given the wrong information, and boy, have I been given the wrong information. You know, like guavas will never get big. That's a 2-story guava above my house, right? Guavas get big. That's a huge shade tree. So you just can't listen to most of the information that's given, right? So you see yellowing leaves, right? But if we look up here at the top, we're going to see some new growth. Okay, do you see that charging new growth that's coming out of the top of that tree? Okay, so when you see something like this, it's indicating usually that he's done with these older leaves. So as the tree grows, right? You get into these nice newer leaves and new growth up here. He's going to expend these, okay? He's done with these. They're tired, they're done. But there's another thing that's happening too. So people are going to stop watering this plant. They're going to think it's being overwatered. Oh my gosh, it's turning yellow. It's losing all of its leaves. It's dying. It's not dying. Guys, what it's trying to tell you right now is it's leaf cycling, and now it needs a little bit more water. So now I tell people, oh yeah, you got to water it more. And they're like, what? I'm already killing it from too much water. I'm losing all my leaves. No, those are older. And let me show you what's going to happen when that happens, okay? So if you'll look very closely at where this leaf set hits the trunk, okay, do you see that new little limb coming out, right? That's because a new limb is going to come out every single place where this old leaf is going to fall off at. So the plant is telling you it's ready to grow more and more branches. So as soon as this little leaf snaps off, see if I can snap him off, boop. Now guess what happens? Now that branch is going to grow. It's going to come out of there, it's going to push in, and it's going to fill in where it's going to be naked on the lower part of the plant, right? So if you don't have these branches covering the bottom lower trunk of the plant, this is how people kill things in Arizona, okay? You would water it more right now. You think, what? Yes, I'm gonna pump the water to this plant because I want it to shove all these new branches out so that it can protect itself. You see them? So that it can protect itself from the winter cold and from the summer sunburn. Okay, so if you've got nothing else from this video at all, let it be that one fact. Leave these. Leave them alone. Stop pulling these little things off. In fact, leave your plant alone. All right, guys. So this is the Wampee Wampee. It's got a really cool name to it when you tell people you have these trees, and all new growth. All right, let's see what else is here. Okay, guys, I know this video is getting quite long. We'll kind of finish it up here real soon. Okay, so the next one on the list is going to be Longan, or dragon eye fruit. Not lychee, but Longan. Longan's going to be your winner, guys. Okay, it's the easy one. The other one's in a tier 3 category, okay? So the same thing's going to be happening on these trees. And I've got a bunch of these trees also. I'll show you some in the pots, but I'm not going to show you every tree in the ground. What I am going to show you, though, is that it's starting to leaf cycle also. So you see how it's kind of burning off some of these old leaves from summertime. That's because they've got their new growth coming on. And Longans are very funny in the fact that this looks like a little dead stick, and it's not a little dead stick. Okay, that's your new growth coming. I can maybe show you that a little bit better on another plant. Okay, so I know this is going to be kind of hard to see, but on Longans, they've got like the new growth on them looks like little hard sticks. Looks like, it doesn't look like a branch. It doesn't look like that's actually going to come out. It looks like you can just break those off with your fingers, but you can't, guys. Those are actual branches that are going to push. That's your new growth coming. I swear they just look like, yeah, they just don't look like that's living. It doesn't look like it's living tissue. But what's cool about them, or Longans in particular, is they're a very versatile plant. This thing can be grown anywhere. I've got some here in the greenhouse that I'm testing are growing rapidly. They grow outside. They grow outside. I've got a couple really large ones if you guys would like to see them. But Longan is definitely the one that I would choose of those type of fruits. It's something like a Spanish lime or a canepa. These are, to me, a better fruit, but they are also a harder to grow plant. Much harder. much harder, okay? So you take what you can get, and this is a tier 2 video, so this is stuff that most of you guys, here's a Longan with new growth on it. Oh, cool. There's brand new growth on a Longan tree. And he's going to be actually putting on another set here real soon. So yeah, very good looking plant also. Evergreen plant, hardy, Cold weather might get them if they're a little smaller. That's pretty much the lesson on all these guys. But man, they're so pretty. Man, some of these are so pretty when they turn colors. All right, let's finish this up, guys. I think we have one more on the list, and I have given you 10, and I think I've probably given you 10 plus. There's some others on the list there. God, these mulberries. This time of year, too, they should not be doing. It's so funny, guys. You're going to have the weird mixed signals on plants. You're going to have plants that are going dormant, literally sitting right next to plants that are actively growing. And especially that should be going dormant. Well, the mulberries stay a little greener in here because it's the greenhouse. And really, I could probably keep them from going completely dormant. But I need to get them acclimated. So these, I can even walk through these things. These will have to go outside to get signaled for cold. If you're wanting good fruit on mulberries. But these are also Shangri-Las. These are a Florida tropical tree. So these operate slightly different, right, than the Pakistanis, which I know they're turning colors because they're a little bit more outside here, but they would be turning anyway. So these are usually signaled by amount of daylight and not the cold weather. Some things are triggered by cold weather. Some things are triggered by the amount of daylight that they're getting, right? So mulberries, amount of daylight. Apples, they need to be told that it's cold because they'll just continue to grow through the wintertime and never really defoliate. But let's nail this last one on the list real quick, and then we are going to be done. And while I don't often carry a lot of these plants here at the nursery, I think it deserves at least an honorable mention, and that is the Indian thornless JuJubee. Let's see if we can grab one. Let's see if we can get one here. So Indian thornless JuJubee. And what's nice about these over regular JuJubees, which I don't care for, is one, this is an evergreen, so it's going to stay green all the time, right? It's got huge leaves. Like, these leaves are much larger than, say, the Chinese JuJubees that I don't like. These are also thornless. You can see that there's no thorns on the trunk of this tree, whereas a Chinese JuJubee is going to stab you completely to death. Also, what else do we have happening right now is we have new growth coming on, right? Remember, it's December. It's almost December. It's December in a week. And we've got fruit, and man, do these guys set the fruit. I hope you guys can see them there, but they get these flower sets, and then they get an incredible amount of fruit on them, even as a small plant. Now, these are going to get much larger, obviously, but we're going into winter, and you got to remember, a lot of these things fruit and grow during the winter, okay? Look, right next to things that are stick figures already, or near it, or getting there, right? All this stuff is already defoliating, right? But things like your lemon guavas, or things that we mentioned in the video, those are not defoliating. All right, guys, that is it for this video. I think I've given you guys some good information. I know it has been a minute since I did a video, but like I said, I'm always progressing on trying to get you guys better stuff. Oh my gosh, these leaves. I'm always trying to get you bigger and better stuff, and plants, and fruit trees that look excellent all year long, because remember, they grow here. So if you're here in the summer and you're here in the winter, it's going to be the same plants, unless that plant has particularly sold. Everything here is grown and acclimated so that you can have this type of a green jungle even in the middle of the winter and summer. Curries look great. This is one I should have probably should have talked about, but guys, get out there, get it done. I know it was a hot summer. I didn't lose a single plant. I kept 1,000 fruit trees alive on 1/3 of an acre all summer long and didn't kill a plant. Now, some may look a little beat up, but I didn't kill a plant, okay? So that is saying something, especially since a lot of these are tropicals or things like macadamia nuts, you know, things you're just normally not going to see here. You know, that should be torched and dead or frozen from being outside. Custard apples. This one's going to be in the tier 3 video. Avocados, bananas. There's a lot that are in that, and those usually have more than one thing that is trying to kill them. In the case of these tier 2, it's usually the winter. These actually grow very, very rapidly during the summertime. You just got to give them water. So people seem to think that plants can't endure heat. Like, they can endure the heat. In fact, they grow the fastest during those time periods if you give them water. I mean, this is Arizona, so of course it's so dry here. Nobody waters things, and they're not going to water them all winter. They're not going to water them, okay? People are not going to water these tropicals. They're going to go off the same watering schedule as, say, like a pear tree or a mulberry tree or a fig tree, right? They're going to take that information and they're going to apply that to all these other trees, and that's not the case. It's just selective watering, right? A lot of these get watered a lot more than others. There's some areas you don't water. But the way I keep things alive, guys, is by 1, having a microclimate, having a nice canopy. 2, I water a lot more than most of you, but it's being used perfectly, meaning the plants are taking up all that water and it's being wasted, right? So I think if I can keep 1,000 fruit trees alive over the summer and over the winter, because remember, come here, it's going to be the same plants. And a lot of these are just seedlings that are growing in the yard, like mangoes, that everywhere they fall now, they just germinate. So like, I literally am having this army of mango trees that I didn't even plant, right? So I got to either go back through and dig these up, or I have to overgraft them. And there's quite a few. I'm having to do this all the time. All right, guys. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please put a like. Please put a subscribe. I put a lot of information in these videos for you guys, and a lot of the information is being learned before I do the video, okay? So it's 5 or 10 years worth of research before I ever put out a video on some plants, because 1, I want that to be correct, and 2, I don't want any arguing about it, you know? It's proven. The proof is in the pudding. So we make it happen. Now you should be able to copy that plan. And I know a lot of people don't like to copy plants. All right, guys, that is the end of this video. This was a long one, but I haven't done one in a while. And there's a lot of information about tropical type plants that are going to grow during the winter, and you have to get good at protecting them or planting them at the right time of the year, or selecting proper plants, and go from there. All right, guys, that is it. Thank you for watching.